seen things people wouldn't believe.
Late in the year, mini LED battle. I'm Brian, this is Tech Therapy. Today we have the Sony Bravia 7 Mini LED versus the HISENSE U8N Mini LED. Both excellent displays and both at reasonable prices at this time of the year. Without further ado, let's check out the Sony Bravia 7 versus the HISENSE U8N. Thank you so much for watching. All right, guys, let's do it. Sony Bravia 7 versus the HISENSE U8N. We have a 75-inch versus a 65-inch. Let me take a second to wish you guys a very happy new year. This is going to be an amazing 2025 for this community. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Let's take a quick look at the design of both. You have a backlit remote on the HISENSE U8N, probably one of the best remotes in the business. Metal center stand. The HISENSE U8N's build quality is such a step above where it was last year. The Bravia 7 has the two legs for their stand, 4 different positions, and the standard Sony remote. Both TVs feel premium. You also have minimal branding on both of them. Checking out the Bravia 7 from the side, you have a silver metal bezel that is not visible from the front. You have 4 HDMI ports, 2 are HDMI 2.1 capable of 4K 120. HISENSE U8N has a very textured back, speakers, and a subwoofer. It has 4 HDMI ports, 2 are HDMI 2.1 capable of 144 Hertz. Black bezel. It is thick, but has the thin front. Both feel very premium. The HISENSE U8N is also very heavy. Premium TVs all around. As we move into our first demo, you will see the excellent local dimming on both. I will also label the preset that we are in. For me, in comparisons, it is very important to use all of the picture presets where they do match each other, giving each manufacturer its chance to shine, though they do match up remarkably well. Which actually says a ton about where HISENSE is in terms of its picture processing and what it's achieved. You saw that initially in the build quality. Huge jump from last year's U8K. Though that TV was great at excellent picture quality, the build quality is next level. And they've adopted that center stand. It doesn't wobble and feels more premium. Now, as we check out SDR, I've had a lot of questions about SDR content. We match them here. HISENSE has 2 theater day and theater night. I thought these matched up pretty well. Both TVs are excellent in SDR in terms of brightness and picture quality. And back to the build quality of the Bravia 7, Sony's build quality is always top-notch and always feels premium. Now moving into another local dimming demo, this time we have the TVs both on standard, meaning we are pushing them for vibrancy to see how they behave in these dark scenes with fast transitions. They are both very close. The specular highlights are different. And on the HISENSE, you'll see almost a pinkish tint that is visible in person, but wouldn't be noticeable if there wasn't another TV next to it. You saw that in the beginning in that spaceship shot, but it isn't visible on every shot. And we are using all kinds of different material from our good friend Jennifer Gala. Now we're going to move into our local dimming torture chest from Jen Gala. Very slow drip of light. And they are actually both equal in terms of their local dimming. A touch whiter on the Bravia 7, but extremely impressive on the U8N. And U8N not really adopting what we see from Samsung, which we dim it down to make up for the blooming, retaining that brightness. And as the HISENSE becomes more full field, it becomes more white and matches the Bravia 7. So that initial drip down, it looked a bit dimmer, and towards the end where we get to almost full screen white, it is practically identical. And in a test like this, it isn't just about the brightness, it's about shadow detail. It's about seeing what is retained. If you look in between those drips of light, you can see equal amounts of shadow detail on both. Super impressive from both our competitors. Now, why you see me jump back and forth is I do want the TVs to have the similar presets, but I do want them to look different from one another. The presets, in my opinion, are the signature of that manufacturer and that engineering team. This is how they want to convey that preset to you. And to me, that's super important. Putting it in filmmaker and professional from the Sony, to me, just feels like, I'm mailing it in, here we go, they're accurate. Here's a 5-minute video. I'll spend 30 minutes with you to show you what these TVs can really do, how similar they can look, and how different they may look from one another. To me, is what I find most important is how those signatures are, and if you relate or want that signature in your home. For instance, in this Storm demo from Jennifer Gala, I will put it in filmmaker and professional. Accuracy and director's intent or filmmaker's intent is key. I will then follow up in a few demos of different Storm demo material in what I call standard max, which is both TVs maxed, to show you vibrancy versus accuracy. Now, as we move into an old school Sony demo here, I put them both in this IMAX enhanced setting that I rarely use, but this setting again is about accuracy and it's about shadow detail. Now, I find the Bravia 7 to be a brighter TV overall, where the HISENSE U8N is more refined than its U7N, which is overly bright. The U7N simply feels unwieldy compared to the more refined U8N, which also makes the U8N not seem as bright, as it does have better local dimming, more refined image overall than the U7N. Which also can be the case for the Bravia 7 going against the Bravia 9. Sometimes the Bravia 7 could feel like it's actually brighter than the Bravia 9, but the Bravia 9 has superior local dimming. Together, sometimes if you compare them, that will lead to you feeling like one is brighter than the other when one is actually more refined and a better overall experience. Here we're checking out the color reproduction in their most accurate presets, and you don't see any of that pink tint or anything like that. So that only shows up in certain shots. It's what probably the content is calling for. But it's interesting to see in this color test, they do look similar. The interpretations are different, but you don't have that weird pink tint on it at all. Special shout out to the one and only Jennifer Gala and her second channel, HDR Super Channel. Most of the content seen within this video and intro are courtesy of those two channels. Check the description below for links to both channels and consider becoming a Patreon member to Jennifer Gala, and you can download these demos in full Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision to see on your next TV. Thank you so much, Jen. Now we are pushing these TVs hard in both vivid and dynamic, and you want to see if the detail is retained. Jen's content can go well over anything from 1,000 nits up to 10,000 nits. We need that peak brightness to push the TVs hard to see where they clip. Where do you see the detail being retained by both? Actually, very pleased with how the HISENSE U8N looks in dynamic in this scene. It does look even more natural than the Bravia 7, which is shocking to me. And again, different interpretations on similarly named presets. Knowing their signature, so important to see if that's the company you want to run with. Now here we'll manually in real time go through the different presets of both manufacturers. Now the settings for each individually, you can check out their respective reviews on the channels. We won't spend time on that here. We'll just show you how each preset looks again in real time. In the comparison of presets, both have excellent flexibility of image, meaning the presets do look very different from one another. The Bravia 7 can look extremely bright and then, true to Sony's hallmark of being the filmmaker's intent or bringing cinema home, can look extremely accurate. Sony has the better picture processing overall and is the better in terms of setting it and forgetting it. You can leave it on professional and watch every type of content out there. Where for the HISENSE, if you leave it in filmmaker, it may look dull in sports and in gaming, obviously, and other vibrant content. So Sony has the edge in processing and its presets in terms of setting it somewhere and just leaving it for all types of content. Where you can see with the HISENSE, you have a couple extra presets like sports, again, that you can switch depending on the genre of content that you're watching. Now at this point in the video, what are you guys seeing between these two competitors? We'll go over price shortly, as the prices can be very close and then very far apart depending on the sizes that you're looking for. Which is why I ask you the question of which you prefer at this point in the video before we discuss price. The content is amazing that you're seeing on screen, again, pushing these TVs to their max, especially in this next preset. Now, standard max is one of my favorite things to do in these comparisons. I take one of the more vibrant presets that's not dynamic or vivid, and then I push it to the max. I add on the Sony live color, black adjust, things like that. Reality creation are at their higher settings, where on the HISENSE, things like their active contrast, color booster, local dimming on both is max. I want to see how hard I can push them without going into dynamic or vivid. As you see here on the B, you can see the detail being retained by both. There is more detail on the Bravia 7. But why I like to be in this preset, though a small percentage of you watch dynamic and vivid, nothing wrong with that. The problem with it is you tend to have a very cool preset in those presets and you tend to lose detail due to the added noise or aliasing. With standard maxed carefully, you can still retain the detail while having the vibrancy and pop. That's why I like to do this preset throughout a lot of my videos, to show you what each can do while remaining as accuracy, or I should say as accurate as possible. Now I'll keep it in this preset for a bit while we discuss price. Now this happens rarely, but there are times where a TV you're looking for is the same price at different sizes. So always make sure, even if you have your heart set on a specific TV, check the prices of the sizes above and below the size you're looking for. The 55-inch Bravia 7 is $14.99. The 55-inch U8N is $9.99. The 65-inch is the same price as the 55-inch in terms of the Bravia 7 being $14.99. So keep an eye on that. It happens once in a while. So $14.99 Bravia 7 versus the 65-inch U8N, which is $12.99. The 75-inch Bravia 7 is $21.99. The 75-inch U8N is $15.99. Now the 85-inch Bravia 7, $27.99, and the 85-inch U8N, $27.99. Same price. So it's fascinating to see the prices being so different and then exactly the same at the very top, which is 85 inches. So keep that in mind when you're looking at both these TVs. Now the 75-inch U8N has an ADS Pro versus a VA panel. I have not seen that TV in person, but it does behave pretty similarly from what I understand from other people that have reviewed it. But so interesting to see how different apart they are in terms of price. But then again, once in a blue, if you're looking for a specific TV at a specific size, always make sure to double check the prices below and above. You may find yourself with a heck of a lot more TV for the same money. As we take this scene from standard max to a more accurate cinema and HDR theater. Now, what are you guys seeing at this point in the video? Again, we're going to push the local dimming very hard in these next few demos. We're going to stay in a more accurate movie preset, which means that we do have accuracy, but cinema and HDR theater definitely have pop. The HDR theater is my favorite preset from HISENSE overall. Though in shots like this, though the colors have been matched, the HDR Theater preset on the HISENSE looks better to me. The specular highlights are more vibrant on the Bravia 7, but I would argue that I like the U8N better in this shot, as far as the blooming control and looking more natural and true to the filmmaker's intent. Now we're getting back to standard max, where you can actually see the same type of content from before, but in a more vibrant preset. In your opinion, who wins? The 85-inch TVs are the same price, so it's not really the disparity in price the larger you go. But who would you choose? In gaming, you have 144 Hz capabilities on the U8N, not important if you're a console gamer. For the Bravia 7, you are going to have a jump in processing and upscaling and overall image quality refinement. Now that said, the jumps in HISENSE's processing year after year are much better. They're not incremental at all in terms of its Dolby Vision implementation, which you'll see soon, and its upscaling. So the zone count, the vibrancy, those things do jump year after year, but it's the processing that they're making tremendous changes in year after year. That's what they're really progressing. That's what they're aiming for. HISENSE does not play around. They want to learn each year and change accordingly. Now, where HISENSE definitely needs to improve is reliability. Now, the TVs I've had, the U8K, the U7K, still work great, even though I push them very, very hard. But reliability can still be an issue. And then customer service definitely needs to be improved more so than anything else. But where they are absolutely killing it is in choices. You have the U9N this year and then the UX110. Next year you have even more options. You also have massive TVs at reasonable prices, something that Sony is just starting to do, and they will get there as we move into Dolby Vision. The Dolby Vision implementation is excellent on both, definitely better than it was on the HISENSE than it had been in years past. And for Sony too, being able to leave it in Dolby Vision Dark for this quick few scenes is something great, because Dolby Vision implementation from the Sony Dark would be way too dark on TVs from the past. Now we're just a few days away from CES. I will be in Vegas Saturday afternoon. I'll be there all week long. I am fully booked with all the manufacturers and cannot wait to bring content and news to you in real time. But what are you thinking about this last, or I should say first video of the year comparison between these two amazing mini LEDs? Now, moving into gaming, things do get very interesting. As I mentioned, the HISENSE U8N has few more presets, but also has 144 Hz capabilities. It also has a much more colorful and vibrant gaming preset. The Sony Bravia 7's preset is definitely clearer and more accurate. So more clarity on the Bravia 7, more vibrancy on the U8N. Now, even if I push live color on the Bravia 7, I can't really make it look like the U8N, and I definitely can't make the U8N look like the Bravia 7. So these two images are kind of what they are, regardless of the presets I move in and out of. They both have very similar functionality in terms of the crosshair and similar game bars. The Bravia 7 has that YouTube screen share where you can check out other content and walkthroughs while you play. They have the resizing flexibility where you can change the size. U8N has the picture presets. It has a Black Myth Wukong setting, which is fascinating. But like the Bravia 7, a lot of the flexibility of image isn't there. The game mode features in picture settings are something you can change. They're just not really effective. The tone mapping changes a little bit on the Bravia 7, changes more on the U8N, but the game presets are what they are. This is how they look. Now, the 144 Hz is obviously something you'd want to have on PC. if you have a rig that can run 4K 144. So more options in terms of gaming from the HISENSE U8N. In my opinion, the better looking game mode on the Bravia 7. It is more natural and more clear. But you do have a more saturated, vibrant image on the HISENSE U8N. All depends on which one you prefer. Now, where are you guys on these two manufacturers? So much talk of Sony being too expensive and the Sony tax, which I don't always agree with, by the way. A lot of their prices are in line with the other top manufacturers, being LG and Samsung. What are your thoughts on HISENSE as they break into that top three? Top three in terms of opinion. In sales, they are at the top. Basically, one of the best or largest in the world in terms of sales. Definitely in terms of large TVs. But where are you with each manufacturer? Are you somebody who's been a diehard Sony fan? Does it matter to you which manufacturer it is? What I love is the competition. HISENSE's change and move into being more aggressive with their processing is only going to make Sony push harder in their processing. We need as much competition as possible. HISENSE is in this massive battle with TCL. That is a crazy battle to see those two behemoths go after each other. But I love that the HISENSE can hang in here with something like the Bravia 7 that has amazing processing. This would not have been something that I would have imagined just a few years ago. Now, both TVs have been sent to me for extended review by both of their respected manufacturers. So they are on loan, they will go back, but I've had them for a long time, which is great because I've been able to not only just do reviews, but compare them to each other. Which means I have them for a longer period of time where they're also updated and they do change throughout the year. Now, in closing, what do you guys think about the gaming performance, all the different presets, and the picture quality in general? Again, we're only a few days from CES. It will be all 2025 TVs from that point forward. What do you think of these two TVs? I think they both look spectacular, but you choose the winner. I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing. Happy New Year to everyone. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing evening. 2025 is going to be our year. Love you guys. Take care.